On the 11th of November 2008, Krista Lueth was a 34-year-old woman who rented a house at Eureka Street in Lansing in Michigan. She was top of her class and she was studying horticulture at the Michigan State University. She returned home from her university by bus and started preparing food on the stove. She was worried about paying her bills because she'd just broken up about a week prior with her live-in boyfriend Brad Cournaya, whom she'd only known for a few months. He had moved out, so her rental costs would increase and she was looking for ways to repay her debts. She sublet an apartment on the floor below to her 40-year-old friend Rick Stilgenbaurer. She visited Rick at 5:30 p.m, explained that she'll need to raise his rent from $200 to $250, sell a truck she never drove, as well as looking to start a part-time waitressing job at a bar to make ends meet. When she spoke to Rick, she seemed happy and in good spirits during the conversation. Krista had been getting ready to go to a greenhouse at Hunter Park at 6:30 p.m, which was only half a mile from her home, to talk about rain gardens to her fellow university students. After she left Rick's apartment, he didn't hear any noises from upstairs, nor did she make it to the park, and she was never heard from again. Krista's family tried for 4 days to reach her by phone, but it kept going to voicemail, so her dad went to her apartment. He discovered that a cat was locked inside. An overhead light was left on in the living room, and there was a pan of food that had been covered with a plate that was left on the stove. It appeared as if she had just stepped out for a moment. Krista's dad then reported her missing to the authorities. An extensive investigation into her whereabouts began. On the 19th of November 2008, the authorities entered her apartment, evidence was collected, and people were interviewed, but the case went cold. The same night Krista vanished. Brad's truck broke down along the US 127 south of Lansing, and a sheriff's deputy offered to help, but Brad declined. When police searched that area several months later, they found physical evidence consisting of Krista's driver's license, an MSU debit card, and a broken cell phone she had been using the day she disappeared. Brad is also the last person Krista is known to have called. In 2014, Michigan State Police named her ex-boyfriend, Brad Cournaya, who's now 53 years of age, as the sole suspect. Over the course of the investigation, Brad has been untruthful as to his whereabouts, and his statements have included other inconsistencies. On the 6th of January 2021, it was announced that a warrant for his arrest in connection with taking Krista's life and concealing her remains was issued. Brad, however, was imprisoned in the Michigan Department of Corrections for a slew of other offences, and has a history of prior convictions as well. At 18, Brad was charged with breaking into a Mason woman's apartment and indecently assaulting her while he brandished a knife. In 1986, he was sentenced to 10 to 15 years in prison. Just 2 months after his release, in August of 2000, he assaulted a female relative. He pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 4 to 8 years in prison. He was then paroled in 2007. In late 2014, Brad was sentenced to 6 months probation for violating the state's offender registry. At sentencing, he told a judge he was being unfairly targeted because of his past. In 2017, he was sentenced to 16 to 40 years in prison for soliciting a minor for commercial lewd activity and using a computer to commit a crime. Brad has been charged with taking Krista's life and is yet to enter a plea as the trial continues.